Soon, Detroit students are going to have the opportunity to follow in the footsteps of an award-winning African-American documentary producer. The Ted Talbert Black Film Festival scholarships will be awarded beginning next year as a tribute to the late Detroit television producer. During his career, Talbert wrote and produced more than 20 documentaries, most of which focused on Detroit and African-American history. He won 5 Emmy Awards and was inducted into the Michigan Journalism Hall of Fame in 2000. Talbert also established the Joe Louis Video Memorial Room at Cobo Center as a tribute to the Detroit boxer that he admired so much. Joining me now to talk about the scholarship program is Ted Talbert's sister and former Wayne County Commissioner, the Honorable Edna Talbert Bell. Welcome to American Black Journal.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Pleasure to be here.
This is such a wonderful way to honor your brother, who I'm not sure most viewers knew who he was, but they probably saw his work over the years.
Absolutely. I don't think a lot of people knew who he was, but they knew his work.
Yeah.
When you talk about the Joe Louis Video Memorial Room, most folk knew where that was.
Yeah.
Many people went through there. He always made sure it was free, so it wasn't a charge for any of that. He had Boy Scout troops come through there, and churches come through, and family reunions come through. So they knew his work, they didn't necessarily know him.
Yeah, well, and the documentaries that he did. Talk some about what they were about and what Detroiters can get out of them.
Oh, absolutely. The documentaries he produced were about African-American life in Detroit.
Yeah.
And they chronicled some of the major time frames in Detroit, some of the major people in Detroit. He wanted to make sure that young people knew and could remember what really went on in Detroit and who the movers and shakers were in Detroit. The Tuskegee Airmen, one of his favorite subjects. He won an Emmy for that documentary. It so happens that one of our high school teachers, algebra teachers, was a Tuskegee Airman.
Oh, is that right?
We graduated from Northern High School. And our teacher would oftentimes talk to us about, you know, if a train starts at one point and the plane starts someplace else and they're going X number of miles, when will they cross?
Right.
And that time, this would have been the late 50s and early 60s, you know, we'd look at him and say, sure, you flew a plane in World War II. Well, you didn't remember it, you didn't know, you didn't even believe it, because we never heard about the Tuskegee Airmen. We never read about any of that in our history books. And so Ted wanted to make sure that young people know about it and had exposure to that. And so Dick Macon, who was the high school geometry and algebra teacher, who was a Tuskegee Airman, kind of inspired him to begin to do the research. And he did lots of research, spent lots of time in libraries, and began to write about African-American life in Detroit.
So growing up with your brother, do you remember at what point he decided this is what he wanted to do?
Well, to be very honest, this was not something he talked about when we were growing up.
Really?
Absolutely. In high school, he played baseball and played some football, but it certainly was not something he ever talked about. As a matter of fact, his biggest effort was to hurry up and get his homework done in study hall so he didn't have to do it at home.
Right.
And he made good grades, passing grades, lots of B's and C's. I had to work real hard for the A's I got, but I was always upset because he could do it in no time and be gone.
Yeah.
But no, he didn't start doing this until he went away to college. He went to California for college. Then he went to Buell, Idaho for some strange reason.
Wow.
He went to school in Buell, Idaho for a while. He was the only black in the city.
Maybe in the state, I was going to say.
Probably in the state back in the 60s. But when he came back from college, he began to talk about and I think that might have been what encouraged him to do that, because he was the only black in the town and in the school. He began to talk about history and wanting to make sure that young people had a sense of what the history was, particularly in the city that he loved and grew up in.
Right.
And that's when he started to look at documentaries, started working on them, started writing. Of course, one of his first loves was comedy, and people don't know that. They paid him not to finish his show one week.
That's right. It might not have been his calling.
No, I don't think so. But that's, when he was in his early 20s, mid-20s, is when he really began to think about how do we chronicle the activities of African-American life in Detroit, and how can I help do that? And that's when he began to write the documentaries, produce and interview, and do all the research.
Yeah. So the scholarship fund that you are funding, this is a competition, correct?
It will be a competition, and that's why we're introducing it now. We're introducing the committee so that we can get others who will join us in this effort, this committee. committee to help us with this. But the scholarship won't, the first one won't be given until next year. It'll be a year from now, and that's why we want to give young people an opportunity, a year, to get ready for it. It will be given on his birthday, which is October 22nd.
Okay.
This is why we're having the event next Thursday on his birthday. And it will be a competition for young people who want to document African American life in Detroit. That will be the subject.
Right. So they will make their own
They'll make
films?
their own film about whatever the subject matter is. Our goal is to have professionals who do this review those, to review them and for the competition, and to determine what the best one is, and then we'll provide the scholarships based on that.
Yeah, and these will be scholarship, college scholarships.
This will be monies for them to college, or if they're going to a school of creative arts, whatever that is, to help them further their career in making documentaries. Yeah,
this is a business that, like any part of the media business, is changing pretty rapidly. What do you see when you think about young people trying to do what your brother did? I mean, there's some challenges there that he probably didn't face.
I would think there will be some significant challenges. First of all, I don't know that young people today even recognize what went on 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Right.
And it'll be interesting to see what topics they choose to chronicle African American life in Detroit, because of course in those days, you know, he had things like From Randolph to the Rouge that talked about the labor movement and the African Americans that were involved in the labor movement. Of course, Joe Louis, which was his champ, his favorite person, and Still the Champ, another one of his Emmy Award-winning documentaries. He talked about black judges who had letters, who were athletes from University of Michigan and other schools. He talked about nurses, the black nurses, and so there were lots of things he talked about that I don't know if these young people have even thought about. Paradise Valley.
Which we're now at least talking about trying to recreate in the city. But every time I say that to somebody,
they don't know what
they
you're
get a little
about.
curious look. They're not sure what that was.
Exactly. Even if you talk about Idlewild, A Place in the Sun. And Idlewild, these young people probably never heard of and don't know that that was the African American entertainment mecca and resort that was between Chicago and Detroit. And that's where many of us went because we couldn't go anyplace else.
Because you couldn't get in to other places.
Exactly.
What were some of the barriers that you feel like your brother faced at the time he was trying to do this? I mean, it was a different time, and there was more overt discrimination,
It was a different time. The discrimination was much more overt. He was very good, though, at getting around some of those things.
Making your way,
and making his way through. Again, he did lots of research, spent a lot of time in the libraries, did a lot of reading, did a lot of talking to people about what the issues were. But he had a lot of people to talk to. And I think these young people will have some people to talk to. I don't think they know it yet, but as they begin to think about it and do the research, I think they will come up with people they can talk to about what goes on in the city.
Well, and it's about that meticulous attention to detail. I mean, when I think of your brother's work, I think of just how rich it all was, and you only get there by, as you say, staying in the library, staying in the books, looking through everything you possibly can before you produce the work.
And that's what he did. It would always amaze me how much time he spent writing and rewriting. And he literally wrote it out on long yellow sheets of paper.
Not typing.
I know, but however, he did have this old typewriter, oh my goodness, that he used. and in later years, he finally started using the computer. But in the early times,
it goes faster if you use the computer.
He wrote it out longhand, and nobody could read it but him. but he did write it out longhand. Yes.
All right. Well, this is a wonderful way, as I said, to recognize your brother, to remember his work, and good luck with the scholarship.
We appreciate it so much. I will be at Wayne State University next Thursday, the 22nd of October. His works are at the Wayne State Ruther Library of Labor and Urban Affairs, and some of the items from the Joe Louis room will be there. The scales that Joe Louis used, some of the trunks, the glove, and some of the other items will be available for people to see.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to that, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.